Welcome to the good life. Welcome to the jungle. I keep wanting to sing Welcome to the Jungle. Go sing it.
So hang on. We need to do that one more time because you were kind of yelling because you're so excited because of last night's game. You were saying Seahawks. Okay, I know.
What did I sound like? Something
we
funny?
Couldn't hear a thing.
Nothing.
It's just the Zoom thing for everyone. We apologize.
Seahawks.
Yeah, there we go.
Go
Much
Seahawks.
better.
Is that better?
Much better. I even got something for you. We could just do this. Nice. All right. Great game and matchup last night.
Such a fun game.
It was, man.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
College football season. You know, the times I love when the seasons change. You know, that smell in the air, things. And for some parents, the kids are back in school too.
Last week officially for most.
So much.
Exactly. Right.
Yes.
We're both in it.
And also, speaking of that, so make sure all of you that are commuting and driving around, be really mindful of all those little legs walking around on the sidewalks, crosswalks. Just be super hyper mindful that we don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, give them a little extra. Give them a little extra time.
Ahead, honey,
I was just gonna say, give them a little extra time for you and for them because they're a little nervous. They're trying to figure things out. They got a lot on their heads, a lot on their shoulders too.
Absolutely. So welcome, you guys. This is Sue, Clarity with Sue, the formerly known as the Gratitude Cafe. It's all the same juicy stuff. We are just in an evolution process and changing some branding around. And Clarity with Sue is what we're sticking with, at least for right now. It's the same person. It's the same love. And again, it's new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas. We've got an incredible lineup for the next year. Some really incredible thought leaders, men and women. I really was on a search for some masculine energy, I guess. And I want to be careful how I word this because it's just the male and female kind of conversation. But when I first started my personal development journey, there were not a lot of men. And if there was in some event, it was one man, and it was because the wife or the girlfriend said, "You're going. If not, we're done." So I have been on that search, the proverbial search, to find those men that are really standing in the rink and being those fiery examples for both men and women, not just the men that they're serving. With all of that being said, we had a guest today, and I think he got his time zones mixed up. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I could start teaching or we could go into another show. I did want to have a conversation about some new events that are going to be coming up with you guys. Please sign up for the newsletter. Things are changing. Things are evolving. I've got my second book that is in the edit process. I swear it's been in the edit process for a couple of years, and that's okay. It's an evolutional process, and it's a massive collection of tools and stories for a positive mindset and a changing your habits. Like the famous Dr. Joe Dispenza says, what does he say? It's changing the habit of being yourself. I love that saying. That's actually one of the titles of his book. In any events, please sign up for the newsletter. Go to claritywithsue.com/newsletter. Remind you guys to go to iTunes and SoundCloud. We stream simultaneously live on YouTube as we're doing the actual live show. So all you got to do is go to YouTube if you want to see us and my guests, and you just go to 1150. And you'll see us there. And then it's Facebook, and is it Instagram too, Benny? I can't remember. Is it Facebook?
No. Well, Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Okay. Yeah. I was way off.
That's all right.
That's all right.
All kind of the same.
All the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, let me talk to you guys about some topics that have been coming up in my conversations with clients and their desire to have specific types of education. And the conversation has been around projection. And I'm going to talk to you guys about what that looks like. I've actually got some course notes here. And it's important. And again, clarity, like I said, clarity is the fuel to all that you desire. And it really is. If you can get clear on who you are and how you're showing up in the world, that is going to make your life so much easier. And I say grace and ease, or I would rather have butterflies than grizzly bears. You have to make the choice, right? So providing yourself with the education, the mindset, all the stuff that I bring to the table and teach as well. You have to make the choice. You are the number one guarantee for any of that evolution. And you have to remember that, whether it's an education from myself or anybody that you're getting an education from, or any of your coaches, the number one guarantee is going to be you and your ability to jump in that rink and get dirty and really do the work. It's not easy, but it's powerful, transformational work. What I do know is life can be hard. I do know that there are fears. I do know that there's anxiety. I do know that there's death on a whole different level, like emotions or divorce or humans. I know that there is that life is tough. Life can be tough, right? So the best thing that you can do for yourself is to armor up, not in the sense of closing your heart, but armor up with a toolbox of mindsets and really getting self-regulated. And if you want to keep and sustain that mindset, you've got to put all of this in a practice before the shiitake hits the fan, so you can be in a more homeostasis state versus reactive state. It's I just can't talk about that enough. And you guys have heard me talk about the big fat permission slip that we're all desiring and looking at. I don't know if we were looking for it, but I've had so many guests, and there's been such over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, there's been this huge overlaying message of a big fat permission slip that you have the permission to change who you are. You have the permission to redesign, reclaim, all those R words. How's it going on your end, Benny?
Pretty good. We are still unable to get our guest at the moment. So, I mean, if you want to continue on, that'd be great. Or we can jump back. I actually pulled up a show from Simon T. Bailey. We
like Simon.
Yep. So if you want to go with that or proceed on, it's up to you. I'm kind of ready for you. So.
Oh, gosh.
So many decisions. We're doing
so many choices.
Calling the audible.
Yeah.
Something
the audible.
Something the Broncos could have done yesterday, but they didn't.
Well, you know what? I started talking about something. So let me noodle on this with projection.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll just keep rolling. And hey, guys, if you want, you guys can call in. You can ask questions. I'd be totally game for that.
Sure.
I'm kind of just sitting here talking and educating and loving on y'all. But I know that when you guys have sent me notes and requests, it's been about boundaries. So we did that a couple of weeks ago. So if you missed the boundaries conversation, just go back to my website at claritywithsue.com and look up the radio shows, and you can hear the replay. If you do want to call in, I can pull a card for you. I can give you some education, some kind of advice and education on how to keep your mindset positive. And I want to remind all of you about that mindset. But before I do that, the phone number is 1-888-298-5569. Again, 1-888-298-5569. Or, of course, locally in our beautiful Pacific Northwest, 425-373-5527. If you're driving, no bueno. No, loving you, but just, it's okay. So reclaim, redesign, and rediscover an authentic and genuine self. You guys have heard me talk about authentic and genuine self quite a bit. That authentic and genuine is a huge anchoring, like an anchor for me. I make the choice, or I am in the practice now of staying in a heightened state of awareness. And this is really important for you guys to hear and to foster, to sustain this, because that awareness, the awareness that the awareness of how you're showing up or how you're not showing up, what life is offering to you. If you are not in the proverbial now, or that state of awareness of where you're at right here, right now, more times than not, actually, it's not more times than not, it's a fact. You're either thinking of the past or you're thinking ahead. And that is where the anxiety resides. The anxieties and the fears of the what ifs or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because you're not in your present moments, your present time, and really being grateful, appreciative. And I say this, and this might sound funny to you guys, but yesterday I was cleaning the house and well, maybe it was Sunday. Anyways, it was a cleaning homeowner day. I was washing windows and spraying, hosing off the patio and, all this stuff. And I just was in such appreciation. I mean, I look down and I'm vacuuming the rug, and even though there's stains on there and my poor old 17, 18-year-old pup has had some mishaps on the carpet, I'm vacuuming it, and I'm like, God, I am so in the moment, and I'm so aware and so thankful for this opportunity, this life, and to have a vacuum, to have a beautiful home that I can call my own, and water, fresh water, food, my cup of coffee, going back to really genuinely and authentically being appreciative and grateful for who you are, what you are in the moment. Again, remember, if you're not in that awareness of the now, the proverbial now that you hear so many people talking about, I wish I could find some other word. Yet it's the awareness. You guys have heard me talk about the number one thing that you need for that transformation, those 3 phases of transformation. Awareness has got to be the first and foremost, because if you're not aware, then that just means that your head's in the sand, you're distracting, you're doing other stuff, which I know if there's something hard that I don't want to do, I'll be like, I'll catch myself doing something else, right? Because I don't want to have to deal with that or do that. So I then go back and reassess and do the hard stuff first. That's a really good lesson, superpower tip too, is to do the hard stuff first, and then everything else should get a lot easier as you go. So at the beginning of the hour, we talked about the big fat permission slip: reclaim, redesign, and rediscover the authentic and genuine you. And I use those words specifically because, when we're laying on the couch or we're laying in bed and we're scared shiitake, we don't know what is going to happen, our fear, because again, our nervous system is put in place for the fight or flight mechanism. Back in the day, that was a great thing. Now we have in-laws, now we have bills, now we have stuff that we're dealing with in our life and lifestyle, right? So to keep yourself, I keep going back to authentic and genuine because it's such a big anchor for me. Sustaining a positive mindset is super important, but you've got to have that in practice before you even can go into a situation, right? I mean, it's kind of like getting in the car and driving without a map. Sure, sooner or later, you're probably going to get to your destination. However, if you would have had some kind of roadmap, some kind of map, I'm trying to use the map analogy, it would have been so much easier to get to the intended outcome or the destination, if we're using the map analogy. I've been bouncing around a little bit here, but I think it's important to have those conversations. So let me talk to you about when at the top of the hour, we were talking about projection. I was having that conversation with you guys because there's boundaries that we had a show about, what was that, a couple of weeks ago? I can't remember, but when you send me notes or messages, you're constantly It's been like the top number one. It's all been boundaries. How do I language my boundaries? How do I say a respectful no? So you can still be loving and nurturing, but also taking care of yourself at the same time. And projection. This was another one that was a biggie. So let me kind of break this down for you a little bit. There's 3 ways to know that you're projecting. And why is this important? Well, you're going to learn. And now, because I've learned so much about projection, I am catching myself and also so aware of other people's projections. I don't say anything unless it's towards me, and that's a big boundary. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so 3 ways to know that you're projecting. Let's look at how projection shows up and how it feels in your body. Okay. So it's a righteousness, that righteousness feeling. When you're projecting, you are 100% convinced you are 100% right about the situation and whatever's going on. And you're certain your partner's at fault, your business partner, your life partner. It could even be an adult kid too. So really look at that as well. You feel angry. Your body, sometimes your brow will furrow, and you might even assume an intimidating posture over the other person. So those were 2 things when I was talking about that righteousness, how it shows up, not only for yourself and what it looks like in the body. So start having that kind of awareness and see if that's what's going on for you. And we're talking about 3 ways to know that you're projecting. Feeling wronged. If a minor argument with said partner is leaving you feeling deeply hurt, and you experience a feeling of sadness in your chest, again, body feeling, so having that state of awareness, where in your body is it showing up, then you're likely projecting something from your past onto them. Maybe it was a parent who let you down, or it could be a situation from your school. I talk about this too. It could be an old coach that said something, back in the day when you're playing basketball or baseball or football or whatever. The day when you felt as if another person got in the way with something he did to you. So feeling wronged and figuring out where that is showing up in your body. We're talking about projection, if you're just now tuning in. Feels like life or death. These are 3 ways to know that you could be projecting. Have you ever felt an overwhelming sense of anxiety or panic during an argument with your significant other, your partner, whatever that looks like in your life? The need to resolve something right here, right now is a signal that you're likely bringing a past traumatic event into the present moment. I'm going to tell you right there, right now, because that's, life or death. That's your fight or flight mechanism. It is absolutely something that I have done. And I've had to really be in a heightened state of awareness because of all of my past trauma. And it still comes up. I like to say I'm in my 40s, but we should probably add another 10 years. Anyway, my life and those hurdles, there's been a substantial amount of trauma, and there's still aspects of that trauma that seeps in. So that the 3 ways to know that you're projecting, that 3rd one, feels like life or death, an overwhelming sense of anxiety or panic during an argument with your significant other or partner, whatever that looks like, again, in your life. The need to resolve something right here, right now is a signal that you're likely bringing a past traumatic event into the present moment. Now, again, big note, projection is not an excuse for abuse in a relationship. If you find yourself in that situation that compromises your well-being, we urge you to absolutely seek your professional help. So that is a big one for me, that fight or flight nervous system that comes in. I noticed that when I was raising the kids, and I really had to be in awareness and really go, I don't want my traumas and my fears on them. Now, did I do a good job 24/7? No, heavens no. we're tired, we're exhausted, we got other things going on in life, and you know what? We got triggers. And so guess what? I got triggered. I think as parents, we all know what that looks like. The kids are great for bringing up some stuff. All right. So why projection keeps you stuck and depletes? Oh, well, let's look at that. If we look at the 3 top ways, the righteousness, the feeling wronged, and that fight or flight mechanism that's going on. You're always thinking of the past, or you're thinking about what's going to happen. You know, the conversation, when you're in a conversation with somebody and you can tell that they're thinking, they've got this kind of glassed look on their eyes, and they're often either la la land or they're already thinking of a response. So they are projecting, or not projecting, protecting themselves. So back to love. If we look at those 3 reasons, we talked about, what was it? Righteousness, feeling wronged, and feels like life or death. These are all could be situations. And check in and feel where it's happening in your body, of where you're projecting. You can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it in your brow, like when you're frowning. I know I had a family member, when I knew this family member was really upset, they would get a red spot on their head. So I knew that something was going to happen. Us as kids, we can see our parentals or our coaches. You spend so much time with them, you can dissect their moods, and when to ask questions, and when to just keep quiet. So really pay attention to what's happening in your body. And again, going back to what I had talked about earlier, and really having that state of awareness, being in the proverbial now of whatever moment it is, right? Because if you're not, that right there is your sign that you're not. I mean, if you're in fear, or you're thinking about the past, or you're thinking about what's going to happen in the future, you're not in the awareness. So you're creating your own misery. You're creating your own fear. You're creating your own doubts and resentments, because you're spinning out and going down the rabbit hole of, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or the I don't knows, and the fears, all the muckety muck that our nervous system tries to play havoc. And I've said this when I was out traveling the world, helping people heal and being a team leader. That was one of the biggest things that we talked about, is that nervous system. It is put in place for a good reason. And it fears coming up, XYZ's coming up, resentment's coming up. And it is literally just your nervous system tapping on your shoulder going, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to, leap off a building, or we're not going to, do a blind fall or something like that, because it's your nervous system doing the right thing. Your body's an amazing thing. It's doing the right thing. It's trying to keep you safe. However, we're not in that fight or flight state where we're getting chased by dinosaurs. This is life. So if you can be in that moment and have that awareness and go, thank you, nervous system. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for keeping me safe. We're going to move forward with this. And literally moving forward will create not only a new neural pathway, it creates confidence, it creates trust in your ability, and regaining trust in yourself and those choices. And I know that when I've had conversations with clients and people at events, that having more energy and really regaining that self-trust again is and has been profound in their life and their desires, their wants to do. They want to be able to have more energy. They want to be able to have vitality. They want to trust in themselves and trust in life again. And you've got to do that by first being in that awareness state, right? And awareness that your nervous system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. However, We're not in the dinosaur ages anymore, So just have that massive awareness of where you're at and what you're doing in those moments and go, I'm doing it again, silly goof. And just play with that. Don't get down on yourself. Don't put any of that negative frequency in that conversation. That's not what this is about. It's about you leveling up, literally leveling up your mindset, leveling up your frequency and your energy, and go into the whole conversation about, that law of attraction and positive psychology, which we can do maybe after we get after the break. But yeah, let's do that. Benny, let's take a quick commercial break, and it's about that time anyways. It's 8:30-ish. We'll do a quick commercial break, and we come back. I will continue chit-chatting and educating and talking. So with that, Sue here with Claire to Sue. We'll be right back, you guys.
Well, all clear.
And I'm looking through my notes as we do this. So when I do go back on live radio, I have my shiitake together. I love this. All right. I'm going to put on mute because I've got to blow my nose. Okay, I'm back. I just realized I had all these wonderful books behind me. You know what? Let me grab something. Okay. Thank you, YouTubers, for having patience with me. I want to bring this book on. God, it got heavy. That's really weird. Oh, this little gem. I have it on Audible, so when I'm working out, I can hear it. Let's talk about some of the things in here. Well, the biggest one would be attachment, and I'm going to read something out of it when we come back live.
Ready to come in?
Yeah.
All right, stand by.
Look what I'm for the strength today. Listen up for the voice to say.
Yeah, I love that song. Remind me the title.
That would be David Guetta, Flames with Sia.
Yes. I am going to write that down.
I believe you're the one that said that too. I know.
It.
There's so many good ones you send me. So.
And David Guetta is awesome. I love all of the mix that he's doing. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Welcome back, you guys. Sue here with Claire to Sue, formerly known as the Gratitude Cafe. Still the same old juicy stuff, the same old juicy Sue right here, right now. We did have a guest that was going to come, and I think that beautiful person got the Pacific Standard Time and Eastern Time mixed up. So we have been chatting about projection. We've been noodling about our nervous system. It does a great job for us. Talking about self-love, confidence building, trust within ourselves, new neural pathways. So when you overcome yourself in that moment, when you're in that state of awareness, that moment right there is you building confidence. It's creating a new neural pathway. What's that new neural pathway? It builds that trust and that confidence that you can do it. And then that subsequently builds trust you're just like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And we spoke to projection. We spoke to, the silly nervous system. When those things do come up, you know that you are thinking about the past and a past trauma, something has happened, and reacting to that, or you are making assumptions, or going down the rabbit hole of what the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or will be happening, that thinking of the what's going to happen in the future. I kept wanting to say past, but where I'm going with this is you want to make sure that you stay in that heightened state of awareness. That's going to be your number one thing. If you're not, and you find you're like, oh, I am having fear, I am having anxiety. If you find yourself in that state, all you got to do is just remind yourself and be kind to yourself. This is not about going down that rabbit hole of shame and guilt. Just, it's okay. It's okay. Just take a nice deep breath and go, you silly goof. You know what? Nervous system, we're good. I'm moving forward. I'm changing this. I am going to do something different, because whatever the situation may be, it will change and it will evolve. Before the break, we talked about projection, 3 ways that you're projecting: the righteousness, feeling wronged, and feels like a life and death situation. And I was bringing it back to, I know for myself, projection shows up for me when it's life or death because of my past traumas. And I was explaining to you guys that I know that showed up, especially when I was raising the kids. And I made a very aware, conscious effort not to put those traumas and fears onto my children. Now, that doesn't mean I was perfect all the time. And I personally don't believe in perfect. It's perfect effort. It doesn't always have to be perfect. I know I'm going around and bouncing around here, but really stay in that heightened awareness. Really. And if you're not, then just say, all right, nervous system, we're not going to go that way. We're not doing that route. And remind yourself that you're either thinking of the past, which is your past traumas, something that happened to you, and literally hear what I'm saying. It is in the past. The past. It's not in your proverbial now, in that awareness of your moments. So with that, a nice little recap. Hey, you know what? I found a book a couple months ago, and you guys know that I love doing Audible, so I can go on my runs or my walks with my Levi. And I love this book so much that I actually went to a local store and bought the book. And I want to talk to you guys about it. It's called, the gal, The Secret. Do you remember that book with Rhonda Bryan? The Secret. This is her second book, and it's called The Greatest Secret. And I want to read something from you that really struck a chord when I was reading this. Actually, I was out on Smith Rock when I was reading this on Audible. So in her latest book called The Greatest Secret, and this is another opportunity for us to stay in that sense of awareness. We talked about projection, we've talked about boundaries, and really owning that for ourselves, and taking ownership and responsibility of how we are showing up emotionally, physically, psychologically, our mindset, and really taking ownership for that. So this is about, here's the book again. I want to show you. It's called The Greatest Secret. It's about attachment. Now, let me read this to you. If you look carefully, you will see that there is one thing, and only one thing, that causes unhappiness. The name of that thing is attachment. That's with Anthony DeMello, The Way to Love. Attachment comes when you hold on to something for fear of losing it, because we believe that we can't be happy without it. Attachment is often mistaken for love, but attachment is not love. Love has no fear in it whatsoever. Love allows everything to be free, whether those things come or whether they go. Did you guys catch that? Whether they come or whether they go. There's no attachment, right? Attachment masks itself as love, but attachment wants to grasp onto something for fear of losing it. Whew, we're talking about attachment here. The thing that is blind is not love, but attachment. And attachment is the state of clinging that comes from the false belief that something or someone is necessary for your happiness. Did you hear that? An attachment is the state of clinging that comes from the false belief that something or someone is necessary for your happiness. It's that external validation, that external attachment to somebody. It's like you feeling good because of something external is telling you to feel good. Your loved ones or kids, or not feeling good. It goes both ways. So imagine two people who have jobs in the same company. They both say they love their work and they're happy going to work every day. Then one day they arrive at work and they hear the staff being cut, and it's happening that very day. Person A's body immediately fills up with fear when he hears the news. What will I do if I get cut? What will happen if I can't get another job? Will I be able to pay my bills or my mortgage? I'll lose my home. All those thoughts come from attachment to his job. You can, again, we talked about that state of awareness at the beginning of the hour. This is perfect example of being in that awareness. You can recognize the fear in these thoughts. Okay, so meanwhile, person B has a different perspective. He knows he will be happy no matter what happens. He knows that things in life are always changing and everything happens for the best, despite how sometimes appears at the time. So let me explain. And this, I'm going to come back. Let me finish this, and then I'm going to swing back to this, because there is a whole emotional charge around this, and it's your nervous system. And I have found people get so ticked off at me, or I witness it with other people. They get so angry because I'm not upset or I'm not reactive, right? So let me, and I'm just like, I'm not attached. Things happen for a reason, and their nervous system of control and fear and shames and doubts is the big control word, really. They want to control that outcome. They have a massive attachment to control. So let me finish. Okay. So we were talking about person B, and they have a different perspective. He knows from his own experience that when something unexpected happens, something better is coming. If for any reason his job gets cut, he knows that he will find another job, and he knows it will work out even better. This is non-attachment. So at the top of the hour, I was talking about staying in that really heightened state of awareness. So you can then, it's like you're the referee. You're like, whoop, put up a flag. Sorry, nervous system, we're not doing that. And play with yourself. And I use the referee analogy for yourself and your nervous system, because I put play in there. Play and fun and silliness is a way better vibration than shame and guilt and having that negative conversation with yourself. I believe in that, and that's where I go. So if you want a win at life mentality, a win at life mindset, that's where you got to go. You're owning it, brothers and sisters. Okay, so let me continue talking about attachment. Who do you think is the happier person, A or B? So look at A, controlling the situation, so attached to the outcome. And granted, yes, we've got practical things we've got to think about. We've got bills and all that. But if we go to the law of attraction of that, and what you focus on will happen. What you put your energy to is going to happen. So do you want to go to the negative Nelly? Do you want to go to the, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the, oh my gods, what's going to happen? Or do you want to take with the person B, the different perspective where, you know what? Okay, this is happening for a reason. I'm going to have my shiitake moment, and I say this from personal experience, because I know that you've got to honor those emotions that are coming up. Don't harbor them in your body. So have those moments. then go, you know what? Everything does happen for a reason. Everything is fine. Everything good happens to me. Just keep reminding yourself. And again, going back to what I talked about at the top of the hour was having a process already in place, or a practice already in place of appreciation and gratitude. So when these moments do come, or these situations do arise, you have self-regulation. You have a different mindset to be able to handle this. Okay, so do you want to ask yourself, do you want to be happy? Do you want to have grace and ease in your life? If that's something that's important to you, do you want to have more vitality and energy? Do you want to have more sex and intimacy? Do you want to, an intimacy on, and I've talked about this, intimacy on a whole new level. It is intimacy on a whole new level. It is emotional, physical, psychological, energetic. There's so much power and ease all at the same time when you're taking care of yourself, you're loving on yourself, you show up the way you authentically and genuinely want to. So we talked about projection. Now we're talking about attachment. So let me continue about the person A and B that I just gave you the example. So if you want to be happy, you want to feel better in your life, I would go with the other B perspective, right? I know that's how I show up. And a disclaimer and or a reminder, feel the emotions that come up, but get rid of them really quick. Just lean into them, say, oh, yep, there's fear. Oh, yep, there's shiitakes. Let them go, flick them off. It's totally normal because it's, again, just your nervous system reminding you of the fears of the past or the fears of what's could come. Again, another awareness that you're not in the proverbial now, that moment of awareness. Okay. So back to attachment. As a matter of fact, you have no idea of what happiness is until you've dropped the attachment. Again, that's Anthony DeMello. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show. That's super important. Really, really think about that, you guys. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I'm detached and see the passing show as a passing show. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get emotional about things that happen. Just don't go down that rabbit hole, right? And don't harbor them in your body. That's where diseases start happening, is the harboring of those emotions in your body. So don't do that. We want you happy and healthy and all that good stuff. Okay, passing through while you stick to things. Let me reread all that. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show while you stick to things and move along with them. I cannot pronounce that name, so I'm just going to move on. In the case of attachment to a person, the attachment comes from a belief in lack of love. Ooh, this is a good one. You believe that this one person holds the key to your love and happiness, and without them, your love and happiness will be gone. Oof. Really think about that. I know that has come up quite a bit. Well, it came up quite a bit with my ex, and it definitely comes up with my children. And I've had conversations with psychotherapists, counselors, coaches, men, women, parents, and we're all saying the same thing about this, right? So let me continue. The belief justifies the attachment and puts you in extreme jeopardy because everything is changing all the time, and nobody, B-O-D-Y, is here forever. And when I read that, it reminded me, because I have a completely different outlook on life and death, croaking. I don't, by using that language, I don't at all. The intention behind that is never to feel or make it sound insensitive. But because I have spent so many years talking to people that have crossed over, helping people find the light as they cross over, holding space as they cross over, I know that there is still an energetic frequency. I still talk to my dad. I still talk to my mom. I talk to angels and guides and friends. I know that there is a life after the body is gone. So why am I saying this? It's because it's an important conversation, not only to have, but to also look at the attachment of the other person. Like I was alluding to earlier about my children. Of course, death and the death of 3D and 5D is painful. There's deep emotions that you feel. Again, feel the emotions. You don't want to harbor any of that or go down the rabbit hole. It's called a refractory period. There's a period of time where you can go down the rabbit hole and stay there for 20 years or 20 minutes. It's your choice. And when I talk about that, it's because your nervous system is addicted to the chemicals that are being released, and your body's getting a charge from you being emotional, for you being scared, for you being in fear, for you having an attachment. And that attachment is providing a response, an emotional chemical charge, and releasing into your body, which then your body starts becoming addicted to that. I know I segued a little bit, but it's important that I just kind of put a pin in that and just kind of take a look at that for yourself, because man, I know when I was not in that awareness, and I still go unconscious, I just love myself through it. I'm like, I went unconscious, silly goof. All right, let's get back on this train again. Again, going back to what I talked about a couple minutes ago, it's not about the right or the wrong. It's just the learning experience. Just be kind and joyful and play with it. Play with yourself. Be silly. I would rather you have that frequency in your body than the shames and the guilts and the words of "you idiot, what do you think you're doing" kind of conversation. I don't even like saying that stuff because it just feels so foreign coming out of my mouth, and that feeling. I don't want any of that for myself or for you. So again, we talked at the top of the hour about projection, but this whole conversation is about sustaining your awareness and being in that proverbial now. And you know what? If you're not, guess what? You can look at it and go, oop, I went unconscious. I'm thinking of the past or my fears coming up. All right, I see you. We're going to release you now. We're good. Or you're thinking of what could be coming up. Again, that's a control. There's all of these adjectives to describe what could be happening, but honestly, it's just you not being in awareness, being in that state of love and appreciation and gratitude. All right, so let's go back to the greatest secret. People need, and talking about attachment, and then we're going to wrap it up in a couple minutes. The belief justifies the attachment and puts you in an extreme jeopardy because everything is changing all the time and no body, B-O-D-Y, is here forever. And that was my conversation about death and all that. People need each other and think it is love. There's no hanging on to or fencing in of the other one when one loves. Lester Levinson. That's really good. Attachments run very deep. Often our attachment make up an identity of a person we think we are. Ooh, that's good. Listen to that. Attachments run deep, like I said. Often our attachments make up the identity of a person we think we are. And we feel that if we dropped our attachment to who we think we are, we would lose our identity. Think about that. Loss of identity. And at the top of the hour, I talked about all different kinds of death. Death to human, death to identity, death to old emotions, old fears. Yeah, God, that's so powerful. All right, I'm going to continue. So we cling to our attachments when all along they rob us of our happiness and imprison us in that misery, that control. So ask yourself, when you read something like this, and I educate and talk about this, when I read, when all along that robs us of our happiness and imprisons us in misery, I ask the question, do I want to keep being in misery? Do I want to keep being and feeling like I'm imprisoned by my own controls or my own fears? I turn them into questions. And then I'm like, yeah, no, it brings it real tactile for me. It brings it really into that awareness for me. And I think that's a really good superpower tip. It's something that I teach in my Craziness to Clarity and my personal code of conduct courses. Yes, I totally did a little drop there. All right, so let me continue. And then we've got just a couple more minutes and I'll wrap it up. When you believe there's a limited amount of something, you become attached to what you have. We can have attachments to our body, mind, the image we have of ourselves, our partner, our children, parents, family, friends, pets, career, personal achievements, fame, skills, hobbies, religion, success, the material objects like our car, our house, as well as attachments to our opinions, beliefs, and points of views. You have probably seen people fiercely defending their beliefs in politics, religion, a whole host of other subjects because of their deep attachment to their opinions. Their opinions are also deeply related to their identity. Well, I have the opinion of XYZ, and this is how I identify myself. Let's go here. We are so married to our thoughts that we never think of divorcing them. Ooh, did you guys hear that? And until we do, we will continue blindly attached to the physical bodies and in the overall having a miserable life. I don't want to have a miserable life. Do you? Absolutely not. That's from Lester Levinson. The Happiness is Free. A great read. Over the years, our mind can become deeply attached to the myriad of fixed ideas. It's ironic that these ideas that we cling to actually blind us to being a limited person, make our life heavy, and stifle our natural happiness. History has shown us that people can be so attached to their beliefs. Remember, I was talking about beliefs and identities. It is, and feeling really attached to those opinions, which also create your identity. So again, going back to the top of the hour when I talked about really staying in that heightened state of awareness. And if you're in fight or flight, if you're in fear, if you're in shame, then you're not in that awareness. You're not in that space. And just know that you're just in a space of learning. And again, going back to sustaining your frequency of joy and play instead of really getting down on yourself and going down that negative Nelly rabbit hole. So when that comes up, just be in awareness and just know that you're just learning from the contrast. That's all you're doing. And the contrast of life shows you what you do want and what you don't want. It is that simple. Just hear what I just said. That contrast simply shows you what you do want and what you don't want. You don't have to get down on yourself for any of that. All right. Well, we've got a couple more minutes. Excuse me. I'm clearing my throat here. Benny, thank you so much for this great hour. We have talked about a ton of stuff. I love educating and teaching. I remind all of you, if you want to get more of these details, find out what's happening behind the scene, get some free goodies sent to you, sign up for the newsletter, spread my name. I'm coming to your city, state. I'm starting to do more educating in live events again, which I'm super excited about because that is my wheelhouse. That's my passion. I want to be with you and engage with you. So with that, I love you guys. We'll see you next week. And again, go to claritywithsue.com, sign up for the newsletter. And until then, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.